Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
Flashy Brotherhood by Airuna. Buggy stops at a bar in East Blue, and there's this angry-looking kid asking about the captain, asking what would have happened if the captain had a kid. And everyone starts laughing like the idea is ridiculous, like Roger hadn't taken in 2 street rats and given them a home. Adios.
Cool. The brat thinks he is cool. I mean, he is. He totally is. Far cooler than the red bastard for starters. But most people don't see it that way. Especially powerful people. And this brat, with his monstrous strength and unbreakable will, thinks Buggy is cool. Really, Buggy? Where were you during the battle? You are so lame. Buggy had thought, well, the kids clearly admire his strength and worldly knowledge, and he may be the most competent pirate the 2 oldest have met, but that was now. As soon as they set sail, they would meet so many stronger people, and they would think back and laugh at how easily impressed they had been. With any luck, they would think of Buggy with fond exasperation. Or most likely be disillusioned by him. That was what was supposed to happen, at least. I thought Roger's apprentices were supposed to be strong. Were you a pity case? But he has told Ace he was going to let a piece of garbage beat him, and the brat had said he was cool. Buggy, I know it's easier to back away, but don't you have any pride? East Blue, eh? Should I be surprised you are running away with your tail between your legs? Didn't Shanks-kun offer you a place in his crew, Buggy-kun? Maybe you could have stayed with him. He's got a powerful crew. He would have protected you and you could have stayed in the Grand Line. Blue. Luffy is tugging at his cloak. I think you are cool too. You gave me meat. Thank you. He somehow manages a smile, but the kids are looking at him with worry. Fuck. And I'm sorry, I'll have to leave early. That's okay, Sabo assures him. You need to look after your crew, some are hurt after all. Yeah, his tone turns a bit darker when he thinks of Pablo and the Funes bros. I'll enjoy taking out Krieg's crew. Especially that first mate of his. He's getting twice the broken ribs Pablo has. Have to prove I have some strength, after all, otherwise Krieg's victory won't feel as good to him. She, Luffy laughs. You're like Shanks. I'm nothing like him. His voice is higher than usually and he hates it. Wow, Bugs, you're the coolest. You'll be my co-captain when we grow up, right? No, you are. Luffy insists like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Like people don't do a double take when they find out he and Shanks know each other, let alone that they used to be nakama. When some bandits threw sake and food on him and insulted him, he was the first to laugh, so I thought he was a coward, but then those bandits tried to hurt me and he took them all out. He said that he wouldn't care if someone spit on him, but he'd get mad if his friends were hurt. And you don't care about Krieg winning against you, but you are really mad about his nakama hurting your crew. So the idiot is still not demanding the respect he deserves. Has Buggy taught him nothing? Really? Shanks is always letting everybody push him around even when he is worth at least twice as much as them. It's fucking annoying is what it is. Still, he can guess why he didn't want to get it on with some lowly mountain bandits. Yonko candidate slaughters a village, is not quite the headline he is aiming for. I guess we both did learn from Captain. Roger was like that too, didn't you say he never backed down from a fight? Ace asks with probably more curiosity than he wishes he had. Buggy feels himself smiling. That doesn't mean he let every little thing provoke him into one. Captain didn't avoid fights for the same reason I do. For me it's about self-preservation. For Captain it was about not destroying the world. He was too strong to get into conflict blindly. He could have seriously hurt somebody. Shanks is the same. Luffy, does someone deserve to die for spilling some drink on you? The kid shakes his head. Of course not. So Shanks doesn't take it to the point where someone will. Come on, Bug, is just a bruise, it doesn't hurt one bit, and if Captain finds out he will kill him. So let's keep it between us, yeah? But how does he manage to not get mad? Ace is looking almost guilty and Buggy really needs to find a way to convince him that he is not responsible for all the evil in the world. I suppose he just thinks it's not worth it. Or he gets mad and he's just good at hiding it. Anyway, he doesn't want to be the person that goes around hurting the weak, even the annoying ones. Just because he can, so he isn't. It's as simple as that. Buggy shrugs his shoulders. Of course there are exceptions. Mainly, Anyone touches his people and they are dead regardless of motive and strength. You said it was okay, that it was only a bruise. That was when it was my bruise. This time he has hurt you. I kept your secret so you are keeping mine. I won't tell Captain, that's all I'm promising. What if someone insults his friends? Where is the line? Asks Ace, and he better not be taking conflict management advice from Shanks of all people. There is such a thing as a middle ground. Just follow your gut, Ace, you are a good kid. Just remember that you are a lot stronger than the rest, so you may hurt them more and they may handle it worse. For some people, a broken arm is pretty bad and they don't heal as fast. Keep it in mind when you are deciding how you should react. Buggy sees that Sabo is nodding and that one could maybe benefit from more strict guidelines. His head still hurts and that hit could have actually killed someone. That being said, it would have been someone that had made Ace cry, so maybe Sabo's got a point there. Same goes for you too. Being strong doesn't mean being a bully, and I do not care who starts it. Okay. Okay. Luffy agrees. Fine, Sabo's smile is a bit too sharp for Buggy's taste. I'll follow my gut. Yup, that one is definitely trouble. It would be terrifying if it wasn't kind of adorable. He tousses Sabo's hair just because he can. Stop it, the kid protests, but he doesn't even try to bite him. Anyway, at what time are you leaving tomorrow? And that's the question. He would like to wait until they wake up, but his crew is counting on him, not to mention the villagers under his protection. As soon as the sun rises, probably. Luffy pouts, but surprisingly, he doesn't try to protest. But you will come back, right? Of course, I'll even bring you gifts. Buggy knows he is going to regret it, he really does. What do you want? Meat. A lighter. A knife. Ace wakes up with a yawn. The sun is far higher than it usually is when he gets up. Then again, Buggy had kept them all up pretty late the night before. Something about making sure there wasn't brain damage, and ensuring they wouldn't do anything too crazy before he returned. He really is a dork. Buggy had told them not to attempt pickpocketing on people even if they succeeded with the sack. They are still looking for the culprit of the other day. If they catch you, they'll try to pin it on you. Let's give them a month to cool down, okay? And he had strongly suggested they took tiger out of their diet for a while. Luffy had not been pleased. Finally he had reminded them, again, to call him using the den. For anything at all, you hear me? I'm not too far away, a day's journey at most. The guy worries a lot. Finally a normal day. Sabo has already been awake for a while and he is reading the book about the weather. As normal as it gets with Lou around, Ace gestures at their still sleeping brother. Can I read that with you? Sabo doesn't mention the small quaver in his voice. He just goes back to the first page and gestures to Ace to sit beside him. There are some words that you may not know, he says hesitantly. They are difficult ones, most people wouldn't know them. I'll ask you what they mean, Ace mumbles, and I'm sorry if I'm too slow. Maybe I should just get another one and let you read in peace. Yeah, why had he asked something so stupid? Now Sabo's has had to go back to the beginning? No, Ace, come on, it will be more fun if we read it together. We can help each other understand what it's saying. Sabo is probably just taking pity on him. The little Ace has deciphered seems pretty easy to get. But still, he is grateful to his brother for wanting to share this with him. Okay. They read together for almost an hour before Luffy wakes up demanding breakfast. And it's kind of fun. Ace is really slow and there's at least one word every paragraph that he needs Sabo's help with, but Sabo is a good teacher. Even if he's not too good at meteor weather stuff. Meteorology, right. Maybe it's because Ace is more used to living outside and Sabo grew up in a house, but what the book is telling him makes sense. He always knew that there was a weird sensation before it was about to rain. He just didn't know it was called low pressure, and it can be measured, and that's just one thing he's learned. There are types of clouds and some travel faster and some make rain and others don't. That's okay, but can we get food? Luffy, as always, has his priorities straight when Ace tries to explain it to him. We'll go hunt in a moment, Ace promises. We need to put the book back. Actually, you should put it with yours, Sabo tells him. We can keep reading it together, of course, but you seem to be liking it more than I do. But you chose it, Ace protests even when his hand tightens around the book. And now I'm giving it to you. Ace looks at the book in his hands. He wants it. He doesn't usually want things that aren't food. Still, fair is fair. You can have mine about navigation then, We'll read it together too, but it's yours. Sabo sighs and he seems about to protest, probably something about him having more books anyway, but Luffy whines again. I want breakfast. Yeah, they decide to go get some crocodiles. Catching them is easy, but Ace still stays close to Luffy. He's managed to get himself eaten before, and after the last few days, he is not risking a repeat. Since he is keeping an eye on him, he realizes that Luffy is actually managing to hit them when he stretches his arm. His punches are maybe slightly weaker, but his aim actually exists now. And was that a feint? Did Luffy actually listen to Buggy? A crocodile gets too cheeky and tries to bite him, so Ace kicks him away. It crashes against a tree and doesn't get back up. Sabo throws his on top off Ace's and joins him on Luffy watching. Should we help him? Ace shakes his head. Nah, he got this. Right on cue, Luffy decides to stretch his arms and wraps them around and around the crocodile till it is completely wrapped. His face is screwed in concentration and he seems to be tightening his grip. The crocodile trashes about, but there's not escaping, and after a few minutes it stills completely. Sabo is the first to react. Luffy, what did you do? Luffy turns towards them with a bright smile. I hugged him. Yesterday Buggy said I have a python's hug, so I asked what that was. He said it is a snake that hugs its prey so tightly it crushes them, so I wanted to try it too. Sabo and Ace share an amused look. He kind of wants to be there when Luffy tells Buggy he had put his probably innocent comment to practice with a crocodile. It seems like the kind of thing he'd have a fun overreaction to. Luffy must see something in their expressions because he pouts. It worked though. Ace opens his mouth to tell him that he was still the last one to hunt one, but pauses. If Buggy were here he'd praise Luffy. Though probably only after flailing around and muttering about crocodiles. And he has to admit that being praised had felt pretty nice. Well, there's nothing to lose by trying it out. Nice job. Now it's his turn to be stared at. What? Nothing. Sabo raises his hands. It's just you don't usually. He doesn't know how to end the phrase, but Luffy does. You're usually meaner. There's no judgment in Luffy's voice, but Ace feels himself flush anyway. You want me to be mean? I can be mean? I take it back. You're slow and a crybaby, so there. No, you can't, Luffy whines. No take backs, you said I did well. Nope, not anymore. You did though, you said, nice job, and you also praised me yesterday when we were fighting and managed to punch you when you had me pinned. Luffy reminds him. Damn, Ace was really hoping he had forgotten about that. You're being nice lately. I am not being nice, maybe it's just that you are sucking less. Ace grumble should not make Luffy smile brighter, but somehow it does. Now even Sabo is holding back his laughter. Whatever, I'm hungry, let's go back. I like nice Ace, Luffy tells him, ignoring what he is saying like usually. I also like grumpy Ace, but nice Ace seems happier. I'm not grumpy, or nice, and I'm definitely not happy. There's no mistaking the heat in his cheeks, and if Luffy keeps going he's just going to have to punch him. Aw Ace, don't be shy. Great, apparently Sabo has decided to join in too. You know you can be downright adorable sometimes. And that does it. Ace drops his crocodile and starts chasing after his brothers, who make a run for it. Their laughs echoes between the trees, and Ace can admit that maybe, just maybe, he is a tiny bit happy. Okay, this cannot be healthy. This is what? The fourth time he has had to talk himself out of turning back. Sees, if it wasn't because his crew needs him, he'd probably be back at Goa already. He met the brats 2 days ago. One does not get attached this quickly, right? What was wrong with him and Shanks for them to be left behind after years in the Oro? He had checked that the kids were sleeping soundly before he had left, and really what else would they have been doing in the crack of dawn? Playing chess. But he had to admit that his worrywart tendencies had paid off, since he'd been presented with them in what could only be described as a cuddle pile, snoring not all that softly into each other's ears. Davy Jones take him, but the brats are cute. Still, he can already see the top hat, and the sooner he deals with Krieg, the sooner he can go for another visit. Ace wasn't serious when he asked for 2 weeks between visits, right? I mean, if he had gotten to spend 2 more days with the kids and ensured they would be safe, maybe he could have left them for that long. But there's no way he will now, not when he's had to run back after they were mauled by a fucking tiger. Nope. He'll give them a week maximum and visit for at least 3 days. Someone must have sighted him, because the Big Top's deck is getting busier by the second, and Buggy has to smile when he sees his crew waving at him and screaming what he can only assume are greetings. He's really missed his band of idiots. As soon as he is close enough, one of the Funa's bros throws him a rope. "Welcome back, Captain. It's good to be back." He doesn't seem hurt and neither do the other two, so those bullet grazes must have really been minor. Where's Pablo? He is pointed towards the infirmary and makes his way there, pausing only to smile at the greetings of his nakama. There are pretty few people in the ship, so most of his crew must be spreaded into as many villages as they can to act as lookouts. Good. This means he'll know Krieg's first mate's location as soon as he asks. But first things first. He opens the door to the infirmary and is surprised to find it full of flowers and food. Pablo himself is gulping down what seems to be decent alcohol for a chance while Lucas and Javi fret over him. "Has Doc approved of you drinking?" At his question, Pablo startles and ends up choking with his drink. "Capitan." Javi greets him while Lucas pounds his crewmate's back. "We weren't expecting you back so soon." Buggy snorts and helps himself to an apple from the enormous fruit bowl in the unoccupied stretcher. "You wound me. As soon as I heard my darling subordinate had been harmed, I rushed over, obviously." He is speaking in jest, of course, but Pablo must hear enough truth in his voice to blush a bit. "Exagerado," he mutters. Still, he looks pleased and so do the other two. The plan is to trick Krieg into going to the graveyard. Any objections? Buggy can't destroy all the newbies he comes across and Krieg could prove useful, but if his crew wants him dead, then that's what he'll be. It's not like there's a shortage of overambitious pirates after all. "None at all, Capitan." Pablo is the first to answer, and while Lucas and Javi don't look too happy, they also nod. Well, Buggy knows what will turn those two frowns upside down. "Perfect. Of course I'll make sure to pay back that first mate of his for your injuries. And since I'm feeling generous, I'll even double it. How many broken ribs do you have?" "3, Pablo admits sheepishly. "Plus 2 bruised ones," Javi adds. "His whole right side is bruised." Lucas tugs on his friend's t-shirt to show him. Pablo bats away his hand, but not before Buggy sees too much purple on his subordinate's skin. He takes a seat by the bed. "I need a name and a description." The three quickly comply. Apparently the man, or maldito demonio, according to Lucas, is called Jin and fights with 2 tonfas weighted with metal spheres but isn't afraid to use firearms when need be. He looks pretty lanky and was dressed mostly in gray when the Domingos fought him. "He was pretty vicious," admits Pablo, who for some reason looks embarrassed. "And those weapons of him were heavy as fuck, so he must also be strong. Moji or Kabaji could probably have taken him, but he was a bit out of my league. Sorry I failed you." Buggy bumps him in the head as hard as he dares. "What are you talking about? Your job was to protect the villagers, and considering the amount of gifts in this room, I'd say you succeeded and made them all very thankful. So don't worry your pretty head over it and let your captain deal with that meanie, okay? Che, I'm not a child. I know, you are a big, super strong man, and as your captain I couldn't be prouder of you. So just make sure you rest up and listen to Doc. Okay. Javi and Lucas will make sure you are comfortable, right guys?" "Right." He stays for a while longer chatting with them and sampling some of the fruit, but soon Pablo starts to feel drowsy, so he excuses himself to let him rest. Kabaji and Moji are still not back, and it'd be pretty irresponsible to go fight the Krieg pirates before first talking to them, so he finds himself with some time to kill. And he knows just how to do it. He starts walking towards the rear of the ship, and the muffled explosions he can hear coming from it tell him that the Turner twins are on board. Of course they are. Those 2 crazies only leave their workshop screaming and kicking. Well, screaming, kicking and throwing dangerous things at you. Tom Turner is the saner of the 2, and he is a knife thrower. Not as good as Buggy of course, but who is? He is also the crew's very talented smith. No one can balance a knife, even a pocket one, as well as Tom. His sister, Taylor Turner, is a fire eater, or more accurately a fire spitter, and the co-creator of the Buggy's bombs. If someone can figure out how to make a lighter that needs refilling only once a year, it's Taylor. Luffy's meat will have to wait. He'll need the expertise of Moji and Richie. It has been a while since Ace has been at Dayton's place. Not that you could tell by looking at it. Ace is pretty sure it hasn't changed one bit in the 10 years since he first arrived. There's a sort of comfort in that. Or at the very least, it's very convenient when Ace needs to grab something in the little time Sabo and Luffy can buy him. As the leader, Dayton has her own room, though it's kind of small. In fact, it's smaller than Ace's is. Though that may be because Ace was given the old attic. It also looks really tidy because she doesn't have much. She always complains that bandit work is not what it used to be, but she always manages to put enough food on the table for all of them, so it can't be that bad. There's a wooden box beneath the bed where Dayton keeps the little jewelry she has. Are necklaces jewelry even if they are made of cheap beads? Well, whatever they are, Dayton keeps them there. Ace takes the box out and opens it over the bed. Inside there are only 4 necklaces identical to the one she is wearing today and a couple dozen of dry flowers which make Ace snicker a bit. Who knew the tough as nails leaders had such a girly side? Well, he is not here to sightsee, so he quickly replaces one of the beaded necklaces with a thick gold chain he and Sabo had found on a treasure chest way back. It's not like he feels bad for stealing from Dayton, it's just that Luffy had looked at him that way and he had some necklaces laying around anyway. Sabo had wanted to give her some of what Buggy had stolen, but that could have brought Dayton trouble in any way. This one was cooler, so she wouldn't be able to complain about Ace keeping the red beads. With his prize in hand, Ace quickly hides the box away and goes to meet his brothers. They had lucked out in their timing and managed to visit the same day Makino did, so distracting Dayton hadn't been too hard. The bandits are all outside, preparing a barbecue and chatting with each other, and Makino is making Luffy and Sabo try on some new shirts she has brought. Makino, Ace calls, and suddenly everyone's attention is on him. Could you help me sew something into my hat? Makino beams at him and Ace returns the smile because he is pretty sure it's illegal not to, or something. Ace, I was beginning to wonder where you were. Did you get a hat too? Ace proudly presents his hat to her. Yes, it's cool, isn't it? Makino takes it from him and looks at it closely. Very nice. I especially like the color. Such a lovely shade of orange. It's my favorite color. You know? There's a squeak by her side where Dayton is suddenly very busy tying her hair back. What do you want to sew on it? Ace makes sure that Dayton's attention is on him before smiling as innocently as possible and thrusting the necklace towards Makino. Here, I thought this would look nice. Dayton's eyes go wide, and as soon as Makino is looking down at the necklace, Ace sticks his tongue out at her. Dayton splutters, but Ace knows she won't say anything in front of Makino. She always acts funny around her. So cute, you'll match Dayton. Where do you want me to put it? Ace shows Makino, trying to wrap the giant necklace over the hat. It's too loose on it, but there's not enough for 2 loops. He pouts. If you want, I can resize it for you and make a couple of bracelets with the rest. I think there may be enough for 3 even, so you can share them with your brothers. Great, Ace smiles and then decides to show Makino how far along he's gotten with his politeness. Thanks for letting me borrow it, Dayton. The woman is red in the face but has to mumble, it's nothing, since Makino is there. The younger woman just smiles at the both of them. It's really sweet that you want to carry something of Dayton's with you. She praises Ace, which is totally not what Ace was going for. It reminds me of when you used to bring her flowers. Oh, shit, when did Sabo start listening? And because Makino is too nice to realize that the rest of the world isn't, she doesn't even notice the hint of mockery on Sabo's interest. Oh yeah, he was about 5, I think. 6, Dayton has noticed the glint on Sabo's eyes and she wants payback. Ace is done for. He brought me a new bouquet every month. He picked them all by himself too, didn't let any of my men help him with that. Ace splutters. That was rent. You know it was rent. I just did it because you didn't let me go work with the rest of the bandits. I remember that. And when did Mogred decide to stop being afraid of him? Ace is going to have to fix that. Boss was trying to make Ace do his chores and mentioned how that was his job since the rest of us went to make money. We had to tie him up to stop him from following us because he wanted to pull his weight too. In the end, he decided to pay the boss with pretty flowers. It was Dogger's idea. Ace reminds them, and why is his face heating up? It's not like he gave the flowers as a gift or anything. He said it was something safe I could do that would help the family. At that the bandits laugh. Well, I was right. A happy boss makes for a happy family, after all. Dogger's laugh is cut immediately when Dayton, accidentally, steps on his food. It's not like I was happy to receive them or anything, they just made for nice decoration. Not like any of you would care about that, she mumbles. Luffy tugs at Makino's skirt. Why is everybody laughing? Isn't it normal to get your mom flowers? And with that the laughter doubles while Ace and Dayton try to ignore how red their faces are and deny that they even think of each other as tolerable. Makino is giggling behind her hand, but she whispers an answer to Luffy loud enough for them all to hear. I think they are just embarrassed. I'm not. Ace and Deiden speak as one. It's okay Ace, Kusebo. I think it's sweet. Well, now he is just asking for it. Ace jumps at him and the two end up rolling around, wrestling with each other. Me too. Me too. Luffy throws himself over them, making Ace lose his grip on Sabo, and just when he had him pinned too. This doesn't count as one of my fights, right? Ace shakes his head while elbowing Sabo in the face and the blonde kicks him in the ribs. Luffy flails around, managing to hit himself more than the others. They have such a good relationship, Ace hears Makino say while trying to get Sabo into a headlock. He can't look up to see the expression on Deiden's face, but the sound she makes is a cross between a laugh and a sob. That's one way to put it, I guess. Say Makino, do you want some tea before heading back? Of course, I even brought some cookies for us to share. Do you children want some? Ace shoves his brothers away and gets up, dusting his pants. Sure, he can teach Sabo a lesson later. It's not like the blonde will let him live this down ever. He's pretty sure he'll tease him about this even after they become captains. At least that will give him an excuse to sink Sabo's future ship. The old geezer likes cannonballs, right? Maybe he'll let Ace borrow some if he says it's to destroy a pirate crew. Still, cookies now, retaliation later. He is in the middle of explaining to Taylor that no, he doesn't need her to modify the lighter so it can act as a flamethrower when they come to tell him that Moji is back. He gets up to leave, but Taylor stops him. I could make it optional, you know? Make it so the potency of the flame is adjustable. And it will take 2 seconds for the jungle they live in to burn down. No thank you, I like them with eyebrows. Taylor pouts but finally nods her head. She looks so dejected that Buggy sighs. When they are a bit older we can talk about getting them something new, okay? She tilts her head. Something explosive. We'll see. He makes a mental note to not introduce her to the kids anytime soon. Goa would not survive. Tom is also not pleased. So just a pocket knife then? If you want a challenge, you can try to make it so it can be both a switchblade and a throwing knife. I can imagine it's easy to make those aerodynamic. His suggestion is met with a smile wide enough to make him feel uneasy. Aye, Captain. Well, at least those two will be entertained for a couple of days, which bodes well for the ship's health. He cannot deal with another, tiny, explosion again. He hasn't taken 2 steps on the main deck when several 100 pounds of lion throw themselves at him. Richie. The lion licks his face, leaving it grossly wet, and Buggy can help but laugh. Did you miss me, big guy? Roar. Is he nodding his head? Buggy swears that Richie grows smarter by the minute. Roar, roar, roar. I missed you too, Buggy admits, scratching behind his ears. What about me? Moji flashes him a smile, trying to pull Richie back. Sorry, who are you again? At Moji's indignant splutter, Buggy just laughs. Kidding, I missed you too. Moji is not so easily placated. You're so mean to me, Captain, he moans. I slave away trying to keep everything in order while you were on a vacation, and this is the thanks I get? I wouldn't exactly call it a vacation, Buggy snorts. Those kids made bigger strikes towards me graying in an hour than you do in a year. Come on, it couldn't have been that bad. They sounded adorable. They hunt their own meat, so when they are feeling lazy they go for crocodile. Moji blinks. Crocodile. As in the big fucking lizard with pointy teeth that lives in large groups and camouflage itself as fallen branches, those crocodiles. More blinking. Wait, that's when they are feeling lazy. What do they do when, you know what, I don't want to know. You've always been a wise man, Moji, Buggy pats him on the back. But since we are on the subject, what meat would you recommend to someone that enjoys crocodile, bear and tiger? Bear? Tiger? Moji leans on Richie and Buggy almost feels bad. Almost. He was starting to feel like he was the crazy one. It's good to be validated. You know what? I'm just going to pretend this is an unrelated question. A food question. I like food. Especially food that doesn't try to eat me. So, what would you recommend? Buggy taps his foot to the deck. It's not like he is unsympathetic to Moji's incredulity, but he had that particular crisis a couple of days ago and he's already over it. If possible, something that they can't hunt in Goa. Right, well, you're definitely not underage, gourmet who totally doesn't hunt its own food. would probably enjoy the meat of the giant boars of Oikot Kingdom. It has a strong, gamey flavor that they should appreciate, though you will have to hunt the beasts yourself since they are still recovering from the massacre of 8 years ago. On the plus side, a single beast would probably be enough to feed the whole crew, Richie and me included. And they are strong but pretty dumb, so they are pretty easy to catch. He can't go himself, that would delay his next visit by almost a week. That will be your job, then. Hunt like 5 of those, 6 if you want to keep one. I want you back in a week at the latest. You can take Richie if you want. But Captain, Moji moans. Stop complaining, the captain has given you his orders. Kabaji is cycling towards them. Probably summoned by Moji distress. Good to have you back. Good to be back. Buggy ruffles Kabaji's hair. It's good to be able to do something like that without having to worry about being bitten. Why don't the 3 of us go to discuss this whole Krieg situation? Moji, you can leave right after. Aye, Captain. Both Moji and Kabaji reply as one, but Moji does so with far less enthusiasm. Kabaji is looking a bit too smug at his Nakama's misery, so Buggy decides to equalize things. And Kabaji, I'll need you to go to the 77th branch and get wanted posters for all the notorious pirates in East Blue plus some from both sides of the Grand Line. I'll make you a list. Oh, and I'm going to need you to search their archives because I want some posters of dead or retired pirates, so make sure to wear something to keep the dust away from your face. Pretty sure his scarf will work nicely for that. Moji is smiling again and Kabaji looks like he wants to cycle over the beast tamer's food, so Buggy's clearly accomplished his goal. So it's an adventure for me and paperwork for him then? Kabaji bristles at that. You're just going on a glorified grocery run. I am going to have to infiltrate a marine base. It's clear who's got the most dangerous job here. If Buggy doesn't intervene, those two won't stop snapping at each other until next year. Not that it wouldn't be fun, but still, they have work to do. I'd say it's the guy planning on losing a fight against a petty, treacherous pirate, so put your bickering aside and help me arrange it, okay? Aye, Captain. This time both men are equally energetic and Buggy smiles. He really couldn't ask for better officials. In the end, there's only enough beads for 2 bracelets since Ace insists that they have to be big enough he'll be able to wear them when he grows up. He puts them both in his right wrist immediately before snatching back his newly adorned hat. Thanks, Makino. Don't mention it, she smiles at him. It looks very fetching on you. Sabo is looking at it with some distaste, so Ace sticks his tongue out at him. Sabo makes a face at him. So now I can't even mention that you managed to make that thing even more gaudy? Now Sabo, that's not nice. Don't insult Ace's hat. Makino is looking at Sabo with disappointment and Sabo wilts a bit. Yeah brat, you don't have a leg to stand anyway. Dayton tells him, tugging on the napkin Sabo always wears on his neck. But I do wonder where Ace got his hat, it looks pretty new. Shit, Ace can't say that he stole it, not with Makino here. But he can't say that he found it either, Dayton would never believe it. What should he say? Blue gave it to him. Of course Luffy has decided to go with the truth. He shares a panicked look with Sabo. If Dayton or Makino hear about Buggy, they will tell Garp. And that would make him not Ritu. That would be bad. Okay. Just because. Blue? Dayton is looking at them with suspicion. Is that another brat I need to look after? Because I am not running an orphanage here? Is that what you are calling Sabo, now? Makino asks at the same time. Luffy shakes his head at them. Nah, Blue is a pirate, he sailed with Shanks. Sabo suddenly smiles and Ace feels himself relaxing. Good, he has a plan. Yeah, and he is a clown too. Right, Luffy? He rolls his eyes at the 2 women, ensuring Luffy can't see him. Yes, he had a really big red nose, and he said he had a lion too, Luffy explains excitedly. Oh, Makino hides a smile behind his smile. I see, you are at that age, aren't you? Well, I am really glad that you made a new friend. What? Dayton doesn't seem to be understanding what Makino is saying. To be fair, neither is Ace. What do you mean that age? And if you've made friends with a pirate, I need to notify Garp. Especially if it's an acquaintance of Shanks. He left strict instructions about that. I don't think even our local hero will be able to catch this particular pirate, Makino tells Dayton with a wink. She leans down to whisper in her ear and Ace inches closer to hear as well. I think Luffy just really misses the captain and made up an imaginary friend to try to feel closer to him. Young kids usually have some, it's completely normal. Ace never had one. Deiden protests and looks at Ace like that's his fault somehow. Not all kids do. Makino shrugs. So Luffy, why don't you tell me more about your new friend? You say he is a pirate? A captain. Luffy then starts telling Makino wild tales about Buggy. Ace knows that every single one of them is true, but they sound so fantastical and weird that he isn't surprised that all the bandits think Luffy is making them up. It doesn't help that Sabo is artfully directing him into talking about the more bizarre parts of their experiences without letting anyone know that he also saw Buggy. He's got quite the imagination, doesn't he? Deiden asks him, and there's something in her tone that Ace can quite figure out. He shrugs non-committally. You know Lou, he turns everything into an adventure. So an imaginary friend of your little brother got you a hat? She raises her eyebrow at him. Nah, I got it from a shop in Center Town, but don't tell Makino. It's easy to lie when you aren't actually lying, just hiding some information. If Deiden wants to understand that he stole it, well, that's her business. Buggy said that people see what they want to see, so maybe they also hear what they want to hear. Be careful in the city, Deiden tells him, and she is frowning. It's more difficult to run away there. And why are you stealing in the first place? If you need money, all you need to do is ask me. Ace raises an eyebrow at her and she blushes. There's always work to do around here, and I suppose I can pay you for it. Just so Garp doesn't get mad at me, of course. Oh, are you getting too old for heavy labor? It's too bad none of your men are half as manly as you are. Ace mocks her and swiftly ducks to avoid her retaliation. Who are you calling old, brat? Do you forget who raised you? When people ask, I say it was wolves. It explains a lot and it's less embarrassing. Maybe I should have left you to them when you were a baby then. Ace knows that she doesn't mean it. That she is just joking with him and doesn't care who his father was, but the old geezer blackmailed her into taking care of him when she hadn't wanted children, and her life would probably have been easier without him in it. He is pulled out of his thoughts by Deiden. Though I guess that if I had done that I would have been on my own when Luffy came around, and I don't even want to imagine that. Only a crazy kid can look after a crazier kid. Deiden pats him on the back, looking extremely awkward. So it was kind of a good thing I decided to keep you. Ace smiles at her. You would be lost without me. I should have cut contact with Garp years ago. Deiden argues back. One gets a drinking partner thinking it will be fun, and suddenly there are two babies thrown in their lap. And to add insult to injury, they grow up and start giving them lip. Really, I should probably sue. You know he hasn't paid me a single berry for watching you. Next time he visits, I'll help you rob him blind, Ace promises. The old geezer should be a nice target to practice pickpocketing. He is an airhead and delights in holding them in breath-stealing and rib-cracking holds that he calls hugs. That's a nice boy. Deiden ruffles his hair and Ace can't help but flash her a smile. For an old bat, she isn't that bad. The Krieg pirates are staying in Orange Island, which happens to be one of Buggy's favorite places in East Blue. It's also the closest island under his protection to Dawn, so he'll probably be making it his base. Which means that he really wants to be in good standing with the villagers and doesn't want some rookie wrecking the place. It has taken a couple of days for Buggy to reach it from the uninhabited island they had moored, and he can't help being a bit anxious at being 3 whole days away from the brats. He has, of course, ensured that there were some of his people waiting just a day away from them in case something happened, but still. Then again, setting camp too close to Fuchsia would just be inviting Garp to pay them a visit, and Buggy doesn't think his crew can afford that. 3 days isn't that much, of course, and it will allow him to make periodical visits. That being said, he is so sending some of his men to stay in Goa. Garp doesn't have eyes there, and he has some nakamas without a bounty that won't mind a vacation. It's not like they will have to do anything, just be in standby in case something does happen and Buggy is too far away. But those are future concerns. Right now he has just finished talking to Major Boodle and is standing before Krieg's stolen marine ship. Krieg's flag is flying over it, and in all of the years he has been sailing, Buggy has yet to encounter a uglier design. Not even the skull looks right. Why is its forehead so elongated? And what's that thing on the cheekbones supposed to be? No, really, he is seriously asking. And the hourglasses. Look, Buggy likes a good threat as much as the next pirate. Your time is running out, is a bit on the nose, but it could work. But Krieg really should have gotten himself a better designer, because those things are hardly recognizable. And what's that line on their top and bottom, tying them to the two thin crossed bones? Did Krieg pay the designer in exposure? Either that or he thought he could design it himself and no one dared to tell him he sucks. Well, that ugly thing will be the first to go. A couple of knives are all it takes to slice it in four. He then throws in a couple of buggy bombs too, because nothing says flashy entrance quite like explosives. And the Marines really are cutting too many counters in East Blue, aren't they? It's really shameful that one of their ships can look this wrecked after withstanding just 2 tiny bombs. He definitely has the crew's attention now, and a couple of dozen pirates jump towards him. Another bomb ensures they stay away. The shock waves send them flying out and only a few manage to get back on their feet. Quantity over quality indeed. Who are you and why are you attacking us? That must be Krieg himself, and really, that does explain a lot about the flag. And not just because now Buggy can see that the bizarre things beside the cheekbones are supposed to be stylized sideburns. The man is wearing a very gaudy golden armor with his train wreck of a flag emblazoned on massive shoulder plates. Either that man has a lot to compensate for, or, no, there's no other option. No one wears armor like that if they aren't trying to make up for something. Name's Buggy the Clown, and you made the mistake of messing with my crew. He himself is dressed with his captain's coat and the wind is making it fly behind him. Krieg should take notes, that's what style looks like. Krieg smirks at him. Oh, sorry, I can't remember doing that. All weaklings blur together after a while. He has some nerve. None of Buggy's crew would be defeated as easily as the Krieg's morons that tried to attack him were. He oversees their training himself. Don't worry about that. I'll remind you, Buggy smirks back at him. And I'll also drive you away from my islands. I have a sweet gig going on here. I don't slaughter the villagers and they pay me every month. It's not as lucrative as attacking some major city, of course, but it's far more comfortable. A smaller reward, but so little work even a child could do it. So you can see why I really don't want you here, mudding the waters. 2 figures jump down from the ship. The first one has a fashion sense that could rival his captain, and the second one is the man Buggy was looking for. He is also the one that opens his mouth. Leave him to us, Captain, we'll take care of him. So cocky, Krieg nods his permission, but the first man shakes his head. Stay back, Jin, I'll be enough, he declares. He is wearing 2 huge iron plates covering his front and back side, and he must have the same taste as his captain because he's embedded a pearl in the center of both as well as fashioned a hat out of one. He claps the smaller plates in his hands and addresses Buggy. I warn you, I've never lost a drop of blood during battle. Well, that's easy enough to fix. A knife flies from Buggy's hand and slashes this idiot's right cheek. There, you are welcome. There's silence for a second before the moron screeches so loudly Buggy has to cover his ears with his hands. Talk about an overreaction. The man then starts yelling the word blood over and over, and he creates some blue flames using friction that all but engulf him, and people call Buggy a drama queen. He throws some projectiles towards Buggy, but his aim is in pair with his taste, so he doesn't even have to dodge. Then he decides to charge at him and makes the mistake to get within reach. A single punch is enough to send him flying. And you called my men weaklings? Buggy asks Krieg, raising an eyebrow. Never heard that it's unwise to cast stones when you live in a glass house. The man is not polite enough to answer him. Instead, he just utters a single word, Jin. Right away, Captain. Buggy centers his attention on Jin, and the pearly idiot seems to think that he is distracted because he drags himself into his feet and approaches Buggy's back. Buggy lets him, of course. Who is he to stop ambitious young men from trying? One can only learn from their own mistakes, after all. Pearly Man has decided to squash his head between his plates, and Buggy could dodge it, of course, but it's not that much more difficult to just stop him by placing a single finger on both plates before they start closing. What? The moron tries to close them and starts using more and more strength. He is frowning, and he even closes his eyes for better concentration. A kick would end this embarrassment quickly, but he has such a better idea for a flashier finish. The moron is so busy trying to overcome Buggy that he doesn't realize that the plates are moving backwards and that the head they are framing when Buggy takes away his fingers is not the same one he had been aiming at. When Buggy lets him clap his hands, Pearly smiles victoriously right before his eyes turn white. Buggy snorts. There's nothing better than to have your enemy be shot by their own cannon. There really isn't. He turns towards Jin. I suppose you are next, then? Jin is already charging towards him before he has a chance to finish his question. In the last couple of days, Ace and his brothers have established a routine. Ace and Sabo will wake up earlier and read together until Luffy gets up and starts demanding breakfast. They hunt breakfast and proceed to try to get the damn wallet from the dummy with the bells until it's time for lunch. After lunch, Ace and Sabo alternate who is reading to Luffy until he gets tired of it and demands they fight. The rest of the afternoon is spent fighting each other and exploring the forest or going to the Grey Terminal. Today is Sabo's turn to read to Luffy, so Ace is practicing his knots. He's gotten better at it, which has improved his traps a lot. He's almost mastered the constrictor knot when Luffy's voice interrupts his concentration. That's stupid. The boy is loudly protesting. Why did he have to die? Sabo sighs. It's just a fairy tale, Luffy, it probably didn't even happen. But he was just telling cool stories. Luffy doesn't seem to have heard Sabo. Who cares if they weren't true? And maybe the island did disappear. That was not his fault. Luffy, Sabo pulls at Luffy's cheek to get his attention. It's just a tale, it's written that way to warn children they shouldn't lie. Luffy is not having it. So what, if you tell a good story you die? That's bullshit. Ace has to agree with him, that does sounds kind of stupid. What are you reading? It's just a fairy tale from North Blue called Noland the Liar, Sabo explains, raising the collection of fairy tales Luffy had chosen. It's about this man that lies about some mountain of gold, and when the king sends his men there, they find nothing. So they just kill the guy? Ace is outraged. Anything could have happened to the gold. And why would you send an expedition without any proof besides a guy's word and then get mad when you didn't find anything? That king was a moron. Right. And they killed the guy with the cool stories. Luffy whines. I didn't like it. Sabo sighs. Of course he was an idiot, he explains patiently. He was a king. Kings are greedy bastards that kill people when things don't go their way. Everyone knows that. The book is just trying to pin the blame on the liar because otherwise the king would have gotten mad at the writer and probably beheaded him too. It's unfair. Luffy pouts. It's also something that probably never happened, centuries ago and in another sea. Sabo points out. There's no point at being angry at that. But it was the last fairy tale in the book. I wanted it to be a good one. Ace looks at the book and realizes that Luffy is right, they've already finished it. Maybe they should have chosen a thicker one. Sabo is also frowning at it. You think there are more fairy tale books? Ace asks him. He honestly has no idea of how many fairy tales exist on the Blues. Does each island have some, or do they share them, or what? It's not like anyone read him stories when he was little. The closest thing he got was the bandits' retelling of their biggest jobs. Or Luffy, do you want some other type of book? Out of the ones they have, the only one they could maybe read to him is the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia. He'd hate all the others. Well, maybe he'd like the Sailor's Diary Sabo got, but he refuses to hear about it since it's an actual account of the Grand Line and Luffy doesn't want anything to spoil the adventure. Luffy snatches the book from Sabo and hugs it tightly to his chest. No, I want more cool stories. Sabo takes the book and opens it on the first page where there's a list of all its stories. All the fairy tales in this one were from North Blue, so maybe there's a book for each sea. But I checked in the store where we got it and there weren't any others. That store didn't specialize in books though, Ace points out. There are some that only sell them, right? Maybe we can find it there. He's already halfway into his own meteorology book and wouldn't mind getting another one for when he finishes it. Sabo is smirking and Ace doesn't know whether to smile back or take a step away from him. Oh, there are some. There's one specially big in Hightown. Say, do you want to become nobles for an afternoon? Ace looks towards the clothes Buggy had gotten for them and finds he is smiling. Think you can get us acting like posh bastards? Sabo nods. If you listen to me, sure. The key thing is to act like you own the place and everyone in it. Go where you want to go and do what you want to do, and if anyone tries to stop you, just tell him you will tell your daddy. Can't I just punch them? Luffy pouts. Sabo shakes his head. They're weak and they cry if they so much as get a bruise. He explains with disdain dripping from his voice. So no getting into brawls and no stretching either. Ace looks at Luffy and sighs. I think it's better if we practice. Sabo nods. Okay, first you need to walk like you are a peacock, here like this. He exemplifies, and for a second he almost looks like one of those snotty, well-dressed idiots Ace despises. It's weird. It's still Sabo though, He may be feigning disinterest and walking like someone has stuck a pole up his ass that's keeping his back straighter than a board, but there's still a wild glint in his eyes. He attempts to mimic him and is so busy trying to straighten up that he trips over some rope and ends up falling face first to the ground. Sabo breaks character to laugh at him alongside Luffy. "I hate you," Ace declares, dusting his trousers off. "No, you don't," Sabo tells him with a grin. "Really though, you don't have to try so hard. They don't. They just truly believe they are above everyone else. So just try to focus on how weak everyone around you is and how easily you could beat them all up." "What about me?" Luffy asks. "How am I doing?" Sabo and Ace share a look. It seems like their little trip to High Town will have to be postponed for a little while. Jin is not bad for an East Blue pirate. He is leagues better than Pearly at the very least. Buggy doesn't like him. He fights far cleaner than Krieg or even Pearly, and with a different captain he may have been the good kind of pirate. Buggy despises the people whose morality depends on who they follow. As sneaky as Krieg or Pearly are, they are honest about who they are. Jin just follows orders. Buggy has met too many people who were just following orders. He blocks Jin's attack with a knife and flicks his wrist to send his weapon flying. He then has to duck to avoid a punch which gives him the opportunity to sweep Jin's legs from under him. Gabon used to say that kicking an enemy when he is down is dishonorable, but Buggy has always thought that it's the most practical way to do it. After all, if they are on the floor they have a harder time dodging you. He doesn't even bother to coat his feet with hockey. Why would he when even without there's such a satisfying crack coming from the bastard's rib cage? Jin yells in agony and Buggy kicks him on the other side too. He had promised to pay him back twice what he had dished out, after all. Thinking of Pablo makes Buggy want to just keep kicking. It would be so easy to permanently put him out of commission. After all, his head is just laying there, almost inviting Buggy to do his worst. He sighs and turns his back on him. He is not a particularly good person, but he decided a long time ago that he wouldn't be a bully. Don Krieg is looking at him with such hatred Buggy would almost believe he cares. Of course that would be if his anger wasn't also being directed at his two officials. "You really should train them better," Buggy tells him with fake concern. "They go down too easily." Buggy's officials would have put up a much better fight, and Krieg had had the audacity to call his men weak after tricking his newest, more naive recruits. Laughable, really. Krieg is searching his pockets and Buggy thinks he is about to take out a gun, but no, it's just a white handkerchief. He waves it around. "Mercy," he asks in a pathetic pantomime of pitifulness. "Let me give my men the medical assistance they need. Please, let me save them." His hockey is so ugly Buggy has to look away. It's a whirlwind of rage, embarrassment and sick anticipation peppered with an almost childish glee and mischief. It takes all of Buggy's considerable acting talents to pretend he is falling for it. Not even Krieg's expression is selling the part. "Go ahead," he says magnanimously, "and I hope this teaches you not to mess with me in the future." He is faking a grandiose laugh when Krieg tries to discreetly pull out a gun. And by discreetly Buggy means that he is looking furtively around and doing nothing to actually hide his actions. How has this man managed to trick anyone ever? He could dodge the bullet or even prevent him from firing at all, but he's maybe done too good of a job dispatching the officials and he has to sell his loss. A bullet wound will probably be an enough handicap that Krieg will believe he can actually win the fight. There's a bang and Buggy hisses. The bullet has lodged itself into his shoulder, and while he has maneuvered his body so it wouldn't hit anything vital, it still hurts like a bitch. "You," he yells, feigning outrage. "I was offering you mercy." Krieg chuckles, looking oh so proud of himself. There's no such thing in the pirate world. What would someone who had had no reaction at his flag being attacked know about the pirate world? A true pirate would have wanted Buggy's head the moment he looked at it. Funny? But Krieg isn't a pirate, not really, and he is definitely not a captain, since having his symbol defaced and his nakama harmed doesn't mean a thing to him. Krieg is just a bully that happens to own a boat. Buggy really wishes he'll get to see his face when he returns from the graveyard and experiences what a sea crawling with pirates really is like. "You tricked me," he says instead, and Krieg's smile only grows wider. His shoulder plates rise to reveal gun barrels and Buggy decides to dodge this time. It's not too difficult to do, since shoulders aren't exactly known for their aim. Which kind of idiot builds guns that require him to move his whole body to direct? In fact, given that they are on each over-widened shoulder. Buggy could stand straight in front of Krieg and not be in any danger whatsoever as long as he moved along with him. He decides to have some fun. It's been a while since he has aggravated some self-important idiot after all. So he starts making his way towards Krieg's ship, jumping and dodging every projectile weapon he throws at him. The man is not a snipper. Sometimes Buggy doesn't even have to move. You know, a key thing that helps improve the damage output of long-range weapons is to actually hit your target. Buggy smirks at him and jumps to the deck of the already quite damaged ship. It's okay. This kind of weapons are not for everyone. Could I suggest hammers? They may be a better fit for a beginner like you. 3 bombs explode on the same spot Buggy has just vacated, and he mentally apologizes to the ship. It's not a particularly good one, but no vessel deserves to be treated thusly by their owner. You missed again, he informs Krieg. Should I just stay still for you? He fakes another laugh to appear distracted enough that the next bomb can hit near him, and he lets the explosion throw him away. Finally got you. Krieg smiles, looming over him. Why is the idiot just holding his arms? Isn't he aware that Buggy's leg is perfectly positioned for a hard kick on the balls? Not so chatty now, are you? Buggy has to suppress a sigh. Even the grip on his hands is not tight enough. A good twist and he could free himself and grab one of the knives still in his possession, since the idiot hasn't thought of disarming him. Now, let's not be hasty. We are both pirates here. That lie actually hurts to say. Why don't we talk like the gentlemen we are? Look, like I said, there isn't much treasure in these islands, but you can have this month's tribute. It's like a quarter of what you would get by attacking a city, more than enough for you to maybe repair your ship. Krieg laughs at him. So accommodating now that you are beneath me. Say, why don't you join my crew? Buggy doesn't need to fake the indignation that slips into his voice. Don't get cocky there, I am a captain. Why would I join a rocky like you? And here I was being nice. Krieg shakes his head, looking disappointed. Well, stay here getting your measly tributes if you want. I'm bound for greater things. Buggy puffs out his chest, an easy thing to do since only his arms are trapped. Who says I am not? I actually have a map for the Grand Line. Do you have one? Eh? I guess we both know who will get there sooner, then? And Krieg lets go of his arms. Why oh why is he making this so difficult on Buggy? It takes actual effort to lose against such an incompetent man. Krieg shoves Buggy's injured shoulder against the ground in a weak attempt at torture. Where do you have that map? Buggy forces himself to whimper, even if the pain Krieg is causing him is not even close to his limits. He found out the hard way that he actually has a very high pain tolerance. Why are you asking? It's not like you even have the men or resources to go there. I've been amassing money and upgrading my crew for years, and I'm still not ready. Krieg smiles. That's because you stay in these forsaken islands instead of going for the big prizes. But I'm not like you. I'll take the map and create an armada, and the richest cities in East Blue will fund me. So smart of him to arrive at that conclusion completely on his own. Buggy thinks sardonically. Now give me the map. The pressure on Buggy's wound increases. He has to force his hand to tremble while it reaches the inside of his jacket. Map is in his hands. Krieg snatches it away. With this I will be able to become king of the pirates. Buggy has to stop himself from laughing out loud. Krieg as captain's successor, over his dead body. He doesn't even get what being the king even is about, the greedy bastard. This one will not last a week on paradise, let alone on the new world. What shall we do with him, Captain? Jin seems to have gotten up, which is almost admirable since he has at least 7 broken ribs and is holding Pearly up. Krieg is about to answer when a voice comes from the village. The Marines are here, we are safe. Of course the old mayor has decided to intervene. Boodle has always been too brave for his own good. This time, Buggy will have to thank him though, because Krieg gestures to his ship. Let's get out of here, he orders Jin. Thanks for the map, Captain Buggy. As a token of my gratitude I won't kill you this time. He smiles at him mockingly and jumps into his deck. If learning how to walk like a noble had been hard, learning how to speak like one is practically impossible. No, nobles don't say please. Ace, Sabo shakes his head at him for the umpteenth time. But you said to talk like Makino, Ace protests. He had been following Sabo's instructions, so why is he still doing it wrong? Makino always says please and thank you. Sabo frowns at him. I said to only use words Makino would use. A noble can't go around cursing like a bandit, but you also can't be polite. Ace only knows two kinds of ways to speak, the crass one used by bandits, pirates and the old geezer, and the polite one used by Makino. Either you say please and thank you or you say moron and brat. How can he talk in a way that isn't either? That makes no sense. Makino is polite. Makino is not a noble. Ace only knows one noble and he doesn't exactly talk like Makino. Well, you are and you curse even more than I do. Sabo blushes at that. I do not, do too, do not. Do too, do not. Would you two kindly stop? You are being uncivilized. Sabo and Ace turn towards Luffy with their jaws on the floor. Their little brother has his arms crossed in front of his chest but is sporting a smug little grin. How? Ace starts but trails off because what? This is Luffy, isn't it? That was good, how on earth? Sabo seems to be having as much trouble as Ace processing this. She, we just need to talk like the princesses from the fairy tales, right? Luffy smiles brightly, pointing at his book. It's not that hard, Ace. You little, Ace stops himself. He had been the one to read most of the tales about princesses to Luffy. And his mom had been from the aristocracy. If Luffy can do this then he most definitely can too. I find your words highly insulting and it's shameful that someone as young as you has no respect for their elders. Not bad, Sabo nods at him. And Ace smirks, ha, he knew he could do it. Looks like you can just manage it when you try. Of course, he can. Ace is an actual prince after all, Luffy points out. Ace feels his cheeks flush in anger. I am not. But your dad was a king, that's how it works, right Sabo? Luffy turns towards Sabo who seems to be having trouble holding back his laughter. Usually yes, he admits even though he knows damn well that it's not in the case of pirates. I guess that makes Ace the prince of the pirates. That is not even an actual title, and more importantly, 2 weeks ago Sabo would have been too worried to upset Ace to even mention Roger and now he is being teased with it. He'll need to teach his brother again how to hold his tongue, it seems. I will throw you both out of the window. That's not very princely behavior, Sabo tells him, shaking his head. Yeah, your majesty, you should be nicer, Luffy joins. And doesn't he want to be king? If he keeps it up Ace will beat him to it and declare it his birthright only to spite him. He takes a deep breath and reminds himself that he actually kind of likes his brothers. What's the polite way of telling people to fuck off or he'll kill them? Ace asks Sabo as nicely as he can manage. Asking for a friend. Me and Sabo are your only friends. Exactly. Sabo sticks his tongue out at him. You are dismissed, but it won't work on us so don't even bother trying. Now, let's try again. How would you ask for a book? Would you give me that crap? Nope. Sabo crosses his fingers making an X. Too rough, try again. Could you hand it to me, please? Boo. Luffy crosses his fingers as well. Too polite. You need to act like Lady Rosegarden from the Moonhunter tale. But she was the bad guy. Ace reminds him. The tale had been kind of dull but she had made it a bit more exciting by trying to poison the wet blanket of a protagonist because she liked the dull prince. Luffy shakes his head. She was the coolest one and she was a villainess not a bad guy. Ace is no expert but he is pretty sure that's the same thing. Though he has to admit that if he has to pretend to be a character from that silly tale, she is definitely his pick. She is the only one with some balls after all. It's better than fainting and sighing every 5 minutes like the princess in that story did. She was just a princess, too. Pirate princesses are so much cooler. He sighs and tries again, focusing very hard on what the lady would say in this situation. You hand me that book over there, and don't dilly-dally, I haven't got all day. Good, Sabo tells him. Okay, so Luffy was right. He just has to act like the lady would. He can work with that. Just like that. Now, what if someone bumps into you? Oh, Ace raises an eyebrow towards his invisible assailant, schooling his face into a lazy smirk. You dare get in my way? You are brave, I'll give you that. Or maybe you just don't know who I am. If his hair was a bit longer maybe he'll be able to do a hair flip. He thinks it would totally sell the character. Now do the rejection scene. Luffy demands excitedly and Ace can't help but play along. That was the best scene in the story and Luffy had forced him to read it at least 5 times in a row so remembering the dialogue is not a problem. You would choose her over me? I see that I was mistaken about what kind of man you are. And to think that I almost saddled myself with such a short-sighted idiot. I suppose thank yous are in order, princess, for keeping me from making such a horrible choice of a partner. Ho 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 ho. His fake laugh is quickly joined by Luffy's, but Sabo is looking at him like he grew a second head. What? He asks, breaking character. He just did what Luffy asked. It's not like he liked playing pretend. Nothing, you are better at theatrics than I thought. Sabo tells him, raising his hands in front of himself to pacify him. I think we will actually be able to pull this off. Luffy likes my reading better when I do voices, he explains. The silly voices are the one way Ace can keep Luffy's attention since he is still pretty slow at reading. Sabo is still looking at him with an amused grin and Ace shrugs, still feeling a bit embarrassed. And why are we practicing so much anyway? You will do most of the talking. Would you rather play mute? It's one or the other. Sabo smiles and hands him the book. Still, since we are done with the book and we won't be getting another one today, what do you say we read the Moonhunter one again? He asks Luffy. I want to hear Ace doing the voices. Yeah, me too. Luffy tells him. Please? Ace sighs, it looks like he won't be able to finish working on his knots today. Fine, but only one story, okay. Okay. As soon as Krieg is out of hearing range, Buggy takes out his baby Den. Follow him until he is out of my territory. And do remember to be discreet, please. He knows he doesn't even have to say it, for all that his crew is the flashiest around, they also know how to avoid being seen. Still, there's not such thing as too much precaution. Not to mention that he already has a nakama in the infirmary. No one can blame him for worrying a bit. Captain. Boodle is running towards him without any marines on sight, and Buggy smiles at him even if he lets some disapproval slip into his tone. I thought we agreed to keep the civilians out of this fight? The man, who has just reached him and is slightly out of breath, nods but looks at him defiantly. We did, but I'm not a civilian, I'm the mayor, and a little white lie is not exactly involving myself, is it? I hardly did anything at all. Anyway, are you alright, Captain? He is looking straight at the bloody hole in his shirt, but Buggy waves him away. I'm fine. He separates his body, letting the embedded bullet fall into the ground, and then starts separating and joining the wounded superficie until his wound has mostly disappeared. Basically, he uses his observation to see exactly where his flesh needs joining and then realizes dozens of little splits to rejoin all of it. An almost perfect fix at the expense of enormous amounts of both control and concentration. It's a long and tiring method, so Buggy usually prefers not to use it, but like hell he is going back to the kids with a fresh bullet wound. Impressive, Boodle says, looking with fascination at the disappearing wound. Just a pale imitation of a logia's ability, Buggy admits with a rueful smile. Those bastards have it so easy, it's unfair, and they don't even take advantage of the potential of their fruits. Look at me. I'm literally an avatar of an element, so I'm just going to punch you with that element. So uncreative, really, they should give their fruits back so someone with brains can get them. Still, it's useful enough. Was everyone in the village safe? I didn't see any pirates going that way, but... We are all fine, Captain. Boodle interrupts, gazing fondly in the direction of his people. Actually, as soon as I told them that you were taking care of this, they started preparing a celebratory feast. Cheeky bastards, Buggy has to smile at that. Don't you think they were jumping the gun a bit, there? The mayor laughs at this. Hardly, it's not like you've ever failed to protect us, and please do invite the rest of your crew. Some of them were very helpful during the first attack and we'd like to thank them. Like the dozens of food and drinks they had sent them weren't enough already, really. The villagers need to start saving their money for the things that truly matter and not give it away to the first person that does them a kindness. Still, a feast is something Buggy has never said no to. He did learn from Captain, after all. Alright, but you know my crazies, if you invite them you'll have the party going till dawn, Buggy warns, mostly just for politeness sake since the villagers do know his people. Boodle eyes shine at that and his smile widens. And delightful entertainment to boot. Yeah, the lads were counting on that. Then I'll go invite the others and change into another shirt. Why had he decided to wear white? That bloodstain will be held to clean even with his crew's patented all-use soap. At least he fixed the tear using his devil fruit so you won't have to attempt to stitch it. This kind of fabric is horrible to work with. Can you walk with me to the ship? I have a favor to ask. For the first time since their conversation started, Boodle looks surprised. He recovers quickly though. Of course, anything you need. There's a slight waver on his tone, but Buggy doesn't call him out on his lie. Saying, anything, when you mean, what's convenient for me and my people, is common practice after all. He starts walking towards his ship and the mayor follows him. Do you remember the conditions I placed before taking your island under my protection? Clearly, and we stick to them, the older man is quick to point out. We have emergency supplies always ready and we keep a couple of warehouses empty should you need them. We also make sure to pass any information we receive through the network even if it's not much. Buggy nods at him. You have kept your end of the bargain flawlessly, he says in an attempt to reassure him. They have, that's the truth, and those supplies had been a major help in a couple of occasions Kuro had decided to attack another village and burn their granaries down. There was also the part about being a safe harbor. Boodle nods again at his gentle prompting. Of course, any crew member of yours is welcome to stay with us for as long as they need. All that have done so have been a pleasure to have around. To this day, some neighbors still ask me when Kabaji will take another vacation with us. Old Betty is knitting him another scarf. Actually, said a young man ought to have at least a couple, especially if he's going to insist on wearing them day in and day out. I'm sure he'll be pleased to hear that, but I was thinking on a bigger scale, Buggy explains, pointing to the big top with his head. I need a place to serve as my base for the next few years. I won't be moored the entire time, of course. My treasure was not made to remain in ports for too long, but I will always be returning here. It's risky. Buggy may be in good standing with the villagers, but it takes one discontent to call the Marines and put his crew in harm's way. Still, it's the closest he can live to the kids without basically sending Garp a handwritten invitation to cash in his bounty. The mayor's hockey projects his relief so strongly that Buggy has to concentrate to untangle it from his own emotions. What was that man expecting Buggy to ask him? His firstborn? Of course, Captain, we'd love to have you. I would be getting into fights with rookies on a monthly basis, Buggy warns. He doesn't usually like being upfront, but sometimes it means less problems for the future. And they don't always know how to minimize the collateral damage. The old district needed demolishing anyway, really you'd be doing us a favor. Some greed colors his hockey, and Buggy remembers that while the Marines aren't all that great at protecting East Blue, they can be counted on to foot the bill after the pirates are done pillaging. While it's good that the village gets something out of it too, it will keep everyone happy and extremely protective of their arrangement. And the mayor is not unreasonable or stupid, he'll get just enough to help his people and divide it fairly. It's a deal then. Do tell your people before the party. I want to address any complaint they might have before I leave. Boodle laughs at that. Can't imagine there will be any, but I will let them know. While talking they have reached the ship and Buggy hides a sigh of relief when his feet hit the deck. I'll see you tonight, Captain. Until then, Mayor. It takes several days until Sabo thinks they are ready to actually go to the library, and by then Ace has finished his meteorology book. Luffy is basically vibrating when they finally reach the building and Ace has to make an effort to mask his own awe. The library is as big as 3 normal stores and every single wall is covered with books. So many books. Ace didn't know there were so many in the world. I'll take Lou to the kids sections, Sabo offers. You go get whatever you want. Ace raises an eyebrow towards Luffy, who would have bolted already if Sabo didn't have him tightly grabbed by the shoulder. You sure? Sabo shrugs before elbowing Luffy, whose neck is starting to look suspiciously long. Yeah, you were on Luffy duty last time. My time to keep him in check. And with that he allows Luffy to drag him away, leaving Ace alone. He himself starts walking around and realizes that there are signs in some of the bookshelves. He quickly skips over the ones talking about literature, mathematics, and cooking, without giving those books a second glance. He does pause to look at those marked as navigation, but quickly realizes that they are not exactly what he was looking for. No, that is in a little bookshelf hidden away in the back of the shop with a sign that proudly announces it as the meteorology section. His book is there and seems part of a set, so Ace quickly grabs the other 4 books in it. He then scans the remaining books. There's one talking only about clouds and Ace skims it before deciding against it. He does the same with one about acid rain. It looks cool, but it's not the kind of thing that usually happens in Goa. He does pick one that specializes in winter islands. He hates the cold, so if he ever visits one he wants to be as ready as possible. He is about to go find Sabo and Luffy when a title catches his eye. The crazy weather in the Grand Line. How to understand the impossible. He picks the book up and opens it. In the first page there's a drawing of the world which shows the Grand Line surrounded by something called the Calm Belt. It's a boring name that seems to promise boring things, but the index calls it the bane of every sailor, so Ace decides to keep reading. A place where no wind ever blows and where the sea is always flat, and at the same time, a place where giant monsters go to nest. An impossible to leave prison situated just above some of the most dangerous creatures in the world. Ace needs to go there someday. And that's just what surrounds the Grand Line. How cool will the actual Grand Line be? He places that book on top of his others and makes his way towards his brothers. He is about to call out to them when a woman who seems to work for the shop stops him. "That's a lot of books you got there," she tells him with a smile. "And pretty difficult ones." Ace breathes deeply and tries to remember how he should act. I guess it would be for a commoner, but a noble needs to be able to understand at least this much. The woman laughs like Ace has made a joke. "Right you are, young master. I haven't seen you around before. May I ask you what family you are from?" The woman doesn't seem to be suspicious of him, so she is most likely just making small talk, but Ace can feel himself start panicking. Sabo hadn't told him what noble families there were. What should he answer? Does he make up a name? No, he needs to calm down. He needs to act like the lady would. He lets the books drop from his hand into the floor and calls for Sabo. "You told me this was a high-class establishment," he admonishes him, not deigning to even look at the employee. "And yet they employ such ignorant people?" Now, Sabo approaches, looking mildly concerned. "I'm sure the young lady didn't mean to insult you. You can expect common folk to know every family and all their offspring. Who are you to tell me what I can or can't expect? This is the first time a mere shop assistant has had the audacity to not know who I am. Really, I should report this whole shop to my father. He'd ensure that they shape up." The poor woman is looking terrified and Ace feels really bad for her. Luckily, Sabo's job is to pretend to soothe him, so he stops him before he can frighten the shop assistants anymore. "No need for that. Let's just grab our books and leave." "Okay. My mother just received some chocolates straight from Log Town and I really want to share them with you." "I want chocolates too," asks Luffy, who doesn't seem to understand that Ace is not actually mad. "Let's go back, yeah?" Their youngest is looking at him pleadingly and tugging at his sleeves, so Ace lets out a sigh. "Fine." The woman picks up the books and hands them to Ace with trembling hands. "Here you go, young master." Ace nods and has to bite back a thank you, but Sabo says it for him. "We'll take this also," he says, pointing out at the books him and Luffy are carrying. "Do send the bill to the Outlook Manor." The woman is so relieved that she doesn't even question Sabo's request. "Of course, have a nice day, young masters." They leave the shop with 3 big bags full of books and not a berry poorer, and Ace has to grin. Nobles really are bastards, aren't they? Complete bastards, Sabo confirms. "You acted mildly in comparison to some of them." "Ace wasn't very nice to that woman," Luffy says, looking a bit reproachful, and Ace feels his cheeks blush in shame. "I know, I panicked because she asked me what family I was from," he admits. "I wasn't too mean though, was I?" Sabo shakes his head. "I'm sure she's had to put up with much worse, don't worry. And next time, say Greenwald, they're pretty eccentric and keep to themselves. They're also rich enough that no one should question you." Alright. They're 2 streets away from leaving the high town when it happens. Some buffoon wearing a ridiculous mustache sees them. Sabo stops before paling and pulling Ace and Luffy towards a side alley. "Quickly, come on, we need to run." So they do. They run and run until they reach the forest, where they fall into the ground trying to catch their breathing. Who was that?" asks Ace, still gasping for air. Sabo is still too out of breath to answer, so Ace has to wait for a while until he says, "My good-for-nothing father." "You don't look alike," Luffy points out, having recuperated far faster than the other 2. Damn those rubber lungs of his. "Thank you." Sabo looks genuinely pleased at that. "Think he'll try and follow us?" Ace looks behind himself, but he can only see vegetation. "Doubt it. We were dressed as nobles, so he'll think I'm hiding out in some other family's manor. It will take ages to rule them all out, especially since he needs to do so discreetly so as to not cause a scene." Sabo makes citation quote marks with his fingers. "Good." Ace nods. Well, let's go put our books away then. The party is still going 3 nights later when Moji finally returns. Buggy is drinking with Boodle, Hawker and Poro when his first mate finds him. There you are, lad, Hawker greets him before Buggy gets the chance. The old man all but worships him since he helped him house train Chow Chow. Where were you? You've missed one hell of a party. Just the beginning, Buggy corrects him, gesturing around at the mayhem still going on. The lot of you will have us partying for a week if I allow it. And if you don't as well, Poro informs him with a smile. We are all subject to a higher authority here. Buggy hasn't been under anyone's authority since he was 14. And even back then he obeyed only when he pleased. He raises an eyebrow. Whose? Theirs. Boodle points with his thumb to a group of old ladies who are surrounding Kabaji and talking animatedly. One is managing to knit while drinking some of the more reckless Buggy pirates into the table. He will have to remind them later that you don't compete with anyone you haven't already seen being beaten before. At drinking or at anything. If you try to take young Kabaji away from them, we'll have a revolt in our hands. He brought them some pattern magazines from Logatown. They've been raving about it for days. Poro explains to poor, confused Moji. Old Betty already had a scarf ready for him, but right now she is working on the gloves and hat to complete the set. Well, if it's only him they want, maybe we could leave him behind? Moji asks hopefully. Sometimes personal sacrifices are needed for the good of the crew. Buggy knows his first mate is joking. He knows it. For all he gripes about Kabaji, the two of them couldn't live without the other. Still he can't help but set his jaw. No one is left behind, not in the Buggy pirates. Shanks had grabbed his hand when the Oro had sailed away, and for once Buggy had allowed it, gripping it tightly as they both saw their home disappear over the horizon. He is pulled away from his dark musings by the yell of, Moji is here. The little girl that had screeched tackles the beast tamer to the floor and is followed by what seems like all the kids on the island. Is Richie here too? Can we play with him, pretty please? While the girl is sitting on Moji's chest and demanding to see the lion, 3 other brats start arguing about his hair. Why is your hair so short? I like bunnies more than bears, the youngest one, a boy about 5, says. That's stupid, bears are cooler. And that must be his older sister if that air of condescension is anything to go by. The little one is not to be deterred through, but bunnies are cuter. The third one actually pulls Moji's ear. I prefer when he looks like a ram. That unites the siblings. That's the worst one. They seem about to start actually fighting, but Moji's low laugh interrupts them. I'm glad you all like my hair. I keep it short in the summer because it's too hot. Can we go see Richie now? Asks the little girl, still in Moji's lap. There is a chorus of agreement from all the children that have approached, and even the 3 that were so preoccupied with his hair look at him expectantly. Tomorrow, all right? We just arrived back from a great adventure and he is now resting. The promise of a tale silences any possible protests, and a couple of the older children start directing the rest to sit. Moji chuckles at that. Okay. I'll tell you all about my fights with the great boars of Oikot, but first, let me have a word with my captain, okay? The brats nod and a couple run to fetch even more of their friends while some others mumble about going to get some food. Higher authority indeed, Buggy mumbles, and the warm feeling in his chest is marred by a bit of melancholy. Don't let me keep you away from your admirers for too long, he tells Moji, who is looking at him with confusion. I'm afraid that they would drag me away if I allowed that, he says with a smile. Still, I wanted to inform you that there are several bags of meat awaiting you on the ship. Some of them saled, some smoked, and some cooked in the traditional way of the island. I didn't dare take them raw since it was a long journey. Well done, Buggy praises him. Any trouble? None that Richie and I couldn't handle. Buggy nods and allows his first mate to go back to the children before apologizing to the men and going back to the ship. They had left the big top deserted save from the Turner siblings, who enjoy their lab far more than they enjoy a party. Still, Buggy is not surprised to find a big, hunched figure lazing around the deck. Too many strangers for you, big guy? He asks, petting his fur softly. It was getting a bit overwhelming for me too. He likes the town's people, he really does, but they are not Nakama. He sits beside Richie and keeps petting his mane while the big cat purrs at him. Thanks for bringing Moji back safely. You didn't get hurt either, did you? If he had, There's no way Moji wouldn't be here fussing about him, but nonetheless he is relieved when Richie shakes his head so vehemently that he ends up with lion's hairs in his mouth. Alright, I get it. There's laughter coming from the village. A nice breeze is cooling them down and the stars are smiling down at them. Buggy settles against Richie, and for the first time in 3 days, he finds himself truly relaxing. They are good people, he tells Richie. I mean, you know that. This is where you and Moji come to lay down, isn't it? This time Richie doesn't answer, shaking his head, probably to avoid dislodging him, but he lets out a loud grumble to show his assent. They are good people and I know where I stand with them. I help them, they help me, it's simple and it works. But making them my harbor is not simple. I don't like doing things that may put a strain on the relationship between us and them. And I don't like giving them power over us. If we deck here regularly they will learn more about us and information is dangerous. He knows he is being ridiculous, but it still feels good when Richie's cold, wet nose pokes him on the cheek. Yeah, I know I have you guys to protect me. And the villagers are good people, they really are. It's just the old paranoia, wouldn't have survived without it in the graveyard, far less in the mass grave. But it is kind of a hindrance here in East Blue. There's a low whine from the lion and Buggy finds himself crushed onto his side by a huge pawn. Okay, you big kitty. No more brooding from me, I promise. Richie doesn't let him go, but he does loosen up his grip enough for Buggy to cuddle to him comfortably. I'm glad you and Moji are back, he confesses to the lion. Kabaji too. It's better when we are all together. He tries not to think about his plans of leaving on the following day and fails miserably. And Richie must too because he whines again. Don't worry, I won't leave till tomorrow afternoon, I promise. He pets him to reassure him. But I need to go before Shanks decides to try and call me, he gets so testy when I ignore his calls. Once again, Richie nudges him with his snout. I know I promised not to freeze him out completely after he maimed himself. Cease knows he needs more supervision than just poor Ben. That man is already starting to gray and I blame Shanks completely. I will call him eventually, don't worry. Well, he will accept the call, which is practically the same thing. But there's something I can't keep from him that I can't tell him yet, so I figured that the best way to manage that was to not talk to him at all until it's resolved. Richie rumbles, clearly not impressed with his reasoning. I just need the go-ahead from someone and I will ask for it as soon as I can, promise. And once I get it, I can pick up the Den Wee. Now, let's stop talking about the red-haired moron before we give ourselves nightmares. Okay? He sinks deeper into Richie's mane and for once, sleep finds him easily.